So, have you ever complained about a drafty window? Yeah, me too. Okay, let's get some perspective. We're going to dive into what real cold feels like by exploring the incredible, gritty resilience it took to survive a medieval winter. And trust me, this isn't just about being a little uncomfortable, it's about a life or death battle fought every single night. I want you to imagine it's the year 1325. Your home? It's not some cozy cottage. Historians describe it as pretty much a wind tunnel with a roof. The temperature inside is maybe a few degrees warmer than the freezing air outside. The cold isn't just knocking at your door, it's moved in and it's not paying rent.
And why was it so unbelievably cold? Well, because the walls were made of this stuff, wattle and daub. It's basically a woven lattice of sticks that's been smeared with a lovely mixture of mud, straw, and, yep, animal dung. Look, it was cheap, it was what you had, but it offered almost zero real protection from the wind. Now, add a fire pit in the middle of the room with no chimney, and you're not just cold, you're also being slowly marinated in smoke all winter long.
So how in the world did they fight back? I mean, their very survival depended on these desperate, kind of ingenious and, let's be honest, very close quarters techniques for hanging on to every last little scrap of heat.
First thing to go, personal space. That was a luxury no one could even dream of. We're talking about entire households, parents, kids, grandparents, maybe even a few neighbors or a traveler who's passing through, all piled onto a single straw pallet. It's been called a desperate, snoring human lasagna, and honestly, that's the perfect description. It was the single best source of warmth they had.
And you know, this wasn't just a random pile of people, no. There was a strategy to it. The strongest, warmest adults would sleep on the outer edges. They were acting as literal human shields to protect the most vulnerable, the children and the elderly, who were all tucked safely into the middle of the pile.
Okay, so what was another key strategy? You bring your radiator indoors. And by radiator, I of course mean your cow. Seriously, a large animal like a cow could raise the temperature in a tiny one-room hut by 1 or 2 degrees. And that small difference, that could be the line between just shivering all night and actually getting frostbite.
Of course, there was a bit of a downside. Living with your livestock meant the smell was, well, let's just say it was legendary. But honestly, when the alternative is freezing to death in your sleep, the unique perfume of sharing your winter with a cow, a few chickens, and maybe a pig, that was a price everyone was willing to pay. Letting the fire die overnight was a potential death sentence. So every single night, they performed this vital ritual of banking the fire. This foresight was absolutely crucial. It was so much easier and safer to just insulate the coals with ash than to try and strike a new spark with flint and steel in the freezing pitch-black morning. And insulation? Oh, it was pure improvisation. They stuffed every single crack on the walls with whatever they could find. Moss, old rags, animal hair. And this is fascinating, even being dirty was strategic. The layers of grease and grime on their unwashed woolen clothes actually clogged the pores of the fabric, making them more wind-resistant. It was kind of like a medieval and very smelly version of Gore-Tex. But survival wasn't just a physical game, it was psychological too. The long, dark winter nights created a completely different rhythm of life, especially when it came to sleep. The medieval night was a whole different world.
You see, before the Industrial Revolution and artificial light changed everything, people didn't really sleep in one 8-hour block like we try to. They practiced what's called segmented sleep. They'd have a first sleep right after dusk, then wake up for a few hours in the middle of the night, and then go back for a second sleep until dawn.
And this waking period, which they called the watch, it wasn't seen as insomnia. Far from it. It was productive time. People would tend the fire, mend things, pray, check on the animals. It was even considered the best time for intimacy, when the body was rested but the mind was calm and quiet.
The contrast to our lives is just stark. Our modern idea of a solid, uninterrupted 8 hours of sleep, that's actually a pretty new invention, one that was forced on us by artificial light, which basically erased the watch from our lives. For our ancestors, the night was a different country. But you know, this kind of gritty survival isn't just some isolated story from the Dark Ages. It's actually part of this incredible, unbreakable thread of human resilience that stretches all the way across history. From ancient engineering marvels to powerful acts of principle, this ability to endure and adapt, it really defines us. The same core strength that got a peasant family through a frozen night is the same strength you can see in these other incredible moments in time.
I mean, get this. Nearly 4,000 years before our medieval peasant, the Corral people in Peru were building entire cities on some of the most earthquake-prone land on the planet. Their solution? They engineered flexible foundations using bags of rocks that could literally absorb and dissipate the power of an earthquake. That's resilience by design.
Resilience can also be psychological. Think about Anne Boleyn. During her final winter of the soul locked in the Tower of London, she faced her own execution not by crumbling, but with his unwavering composure, even using dark humor to comfort the people around her. It just proves that dignity can survive even when life cannot.
And sometimes resilience is all about principle. The Boston Tea Party wasn't just a riot. It was a cold, calculated act of defiance. These colonists risked everything, facing down the British Empire and the crippling, intolerable acts, not because of the price of tea, but for the huge, powerful ideal of liberty.
So what's the big lesson here? What's the thread that connects all these stories, especially our medieval peasant shivering by the fire? It all comes down to how the burden of hardship is carried.
For our ancestors, surviving the winter wasn't some individual struggle. It was a village project. The hardship was endurable because it was shared. If your fire went out, a neighbor would bring you a glowing coal. If you ran short on food, the community might pool what little it had. This right here is the ultimate lesson they passed down. Whether it was huddling together for warmth, sharing food, or just watching over a neighbor's hearth, they understood a fundamental truth. No one beats the winter alone. Their greatest survival tool, their best technology, was communal grit. And that really leaves us with a final question to chew on. In our modern, insulated, and let's face it, often isolated world, we have central heating and all the comforts we could ever want. But in gaining all of that comfort, have we maybe traded away some of that essential communal grit that our ancestors knew was the absolute key to survival?